Hi everyone, hopefully you can hear me. If you can just confirm that by saying yes, I hear you or something to that effect. Well, I say, type in the box, please. Right, okay, so what I want to do actually is start this really by asking you a few questions myself anyway. The first thing, though, I'll say to you as well, there will be no pitch whatsoever on this webinar. So you can put your wallets away, put your money away, whatever you like, because there is no pitch. This is purely about helping you getting started with building your channels, really. So hence, this is why I want to ask you a series of questions, really. Like, for example, if you've got any channels approved already, if it's on Roku, if you can put an R in the questions and then like a number 1, 2, 3, depending how many channels you already have. If it's on Fire TV, do the same but with an F, so like F1, F2, etc. If you have submitted channels but they're not yet approved, so let's do say we just have an S with a number. I'm not too worried whether it's for Amazon or Roku. If you've created any channels, if you can do a C and then a number, depending on the number you've created. Then the next thing I would like to ask is, is there anyone here that has not watched any of the tutorial videos? So by that, I'll just show you on my screen what I mean by that. So here we are inside TVBOSS Fire, and this is the tutorial section. And what I'm referring to really is the essentials videos. So I just need to click on view. And so that's these videos in here. So if you haven't watched any of the videos, if you can just be honest and tell me no, you haven't. I will look at the questions in a minute, by the way. And I appreciate for some of you, like you may even have only joined, you know, in the last day or so, or even today. So yes, that is sort of understandable if you haven't watched the videos, particularly if you still have any access issues. So let me just have a quick scan through, I think, some of the questions, and then I'll decide on the ones that I want to answer now and those that I'll answer later. Right, okay, so right, let me just look at Dave Whitfield's question. Right, will the recording be available in the membership area afterwards? Yes, but not immediately, because I've got to wait for it to render inside of GoToWebinar. But yes, you know, providing there's no issues with GoToWebinar, then yes. Now, Rini says the sound is very bad, so what I would probably suggest there is to leave the webinar and then come back in. Sometimes that will, fix it. Hopefully, anyway. Right, so Ernest, I don't know whether you saw, because I know you're having problem with access, I don't know whether you saw my message in the group. So if you can send me a friend request and then your email address and the transaction details, then I'll try and sort that out for you after the webinar. I do have another webinar I've got to go to in just over an hour's time, so I need to really keep a check on the time as well. And it's good to see quite a few of you have watched a lot of the videos, if not all of them. But so the thing I'll just say about that, it's really, really important to watch those videos, because you're going to be, I think you're going to find otherwise it's going to be a bit like you're, in a big ocean, and you're not really sure what direction you're headed in. There's a lot in there, and I do go through it, I think, in a lot of detail, but sort of in a step-by-step fashion, pretty well in the order that you should be watching, the videos, because of the way the things you're going to do. I mean, I know someone, for instance, has asked, well, do you need a Roku device? Well, it's not, shall we say, 100% mandatory, but here's the issue. If you do not have a Roku device, and if you don't have a Amazon Fire TV device, then it's very hard. It's a little easier on Amazon, but not a great deal, to know exactly what it's going to look like, on the TV, with a Roku device. And see, the thing is, you're sort of submitting your channel blind. You could be thinking, oh yes, it's all absolutely fine. I'm sure the images are there. I'm sure all the videos play. But unless you test that yourself, or again, not totally ideal, have someone else that does have a Roku device that, you can get them to use your code for a non-certified channel so that they can add it to their Roku device and watch, then, it's not ideal. And see, the way I look at it, you don't want to submit your channel. Sometimes they're really quick. Occasionally they're much slower, and they can maybe take like 10 days to 2 weeks. So that's pretty rare. And I think I maybe set the world record a couple of days before the launch, in that I built a channel with just 10 videos to begin with, submitted it to Roku, they approved it and published it, and it was actually live within 6 hours. I've never ever known it as fast as that, and I may well never see that again, but that just goes to show. But see, fortunately, so this is what I mean as well, which we'll cover a bit more in this call, about your sort of planning of everything. See, this particular channel I built for someone, they sort of said to me, okay, well, I want, like 50 videos on it. I said, fine. So, get all those uploaded to Vimeo and everything, so that once it's approved with the 10 videos, I can immediately upload all the rest. And that is one of the critical things. And so we'll discuss that a bit more, during the call, why you don't want to just leave it with 6 or 10, videos, because those could quickly and easily be consumed by people that install your channel. And when they come back and find nothing new, do you think they're going to come back again? I think probably not. But we'll go into that a bit more, further in this call. So, and again, anyone else with problems with access, someone here called Rudiger, sorry if I haven't pronounced your name right, same thing. My name is Jonathan Hammond. Find me in the Facebook group. You'll see me posting all over in there, so you have no problem finding me at all. And, make sure you add a friend request, send me a PM with your email transaction details so that we can then, make sure we sort out your access. So like you say, Rudiger, it's not 100% essential, but I think you can see why I say it just makes good sense to have a device, because otherwise, and I have seen it on a few occasions, people have gone, oh, I'm really glad that I had my device and I tested it, because I found out 3 of my videos didn't play. And see, if you submit that channel and then Roku look at it and find anything wrong with it, then they'll just reject it. And then, okay, you might not have to wait as long as you did when you first submitted it, but you'll be back in the queue for them to review it. So you want to, I think, maximize your time, or don't waste your time. So it is much better, to actually, check things out, check that the splash screens load and the other images, load your poster image and all that sort of stuff as well. So, hopefully you can see that what I'm saying, makes sense really. Right, so there's someone here saying, Ross, I think is his first name, we live on a small Caribbean island and we don't have access to either of these devices. Well, I can't necessarily speak 100% for Amazon Fire TV, but see, Roku, you can get pretty well anywhere in the world. And the thing is, once you have your account on Roku, then you're fine. It doesn't really matter where you are. One of the things to remember is that the US market, if we like to call it that, is the biggest part of Roku's client base. I mean, yes, it probably is about double if you add every other location in, other than the US, like, Canada, UK, most of the South American countries. But see, so if I build a channel, for instance, well, I'm not going to build it just for the UK because I'm in London. I'm going to build it for everywhere where Roku has a presence. So I'm just going to, go through all those roughly 15 countries, and that's expanded quite a bit in the 18 months, that I've been using Roku, because there was, I think, probably about 6 or 7 when I first started. And that will continue to expand. So the way I think for you to get your device, that my top of the list example would be just go on to Amazon.com, because that really is a global website, not just the USA. And I've used that site myself to order a Roku 4K device, because over here in the UK, we do have one model, but in the US there's about 4 different 4K models. So I just ordered it off their site and got it within, I think, probably about 6 or 7 days. And I didn't choose the fastest delivery option. And I think paid maybe $12 or $13 more than what it was listed on the Amazon.com site, but it was a darn sight cheaper than it would have been here to buy a sort of near equivalent device. So really it saved me money, and I could just, and they take care of all the, custom duties and everything as well. They tell you how much it's going to cost, and then that's what you pay, and that's it. So, it's that easy really to get a device. I mean, I know for some people, for instance, in Australia, because I've got a couple of friends over there that I've been helping, with their Roku channels, and all they did was go on eBay. But I think Amazon, where you can use that, is maybe a better sort of option, particularly if it's coming actually from Amazon and not a seller on the Amazon site. All right, let me just have a look at a couple of other questions here. Oh yeah, so can a smart TV take the place of the devices? Well, the simple answer is yes. However, I'm not personally aware, but except I don't know about every TV on every different manufacturer. I'm not aware of one that has both devices built in. I've seen TVs certainly that have Fire TV built in. I've seen TVs that have Roku built in. The only thing to add, and I did post this in the group in reply to someone else's question along the same line, was the fact that often the devices built in the TVs are not as good, or, well, good is probably the wrong word, not as feature rich as those that are built in the separate devices. The other advantage, of course, is you can then take that device, with you, and providing the TV that you want to use it on has an HDMI connector, then, you can get it to work pretty well wherever you travel. All right, so I think that covers most. I mean, again, there's a couple of people saying, do we really need a Roku or Fire physical device to do TVBOSS? Well, so I think I've really answered that. To me, it's not 100% essential, but it's pretty close to, for the reasons I've already explained. I don't want to be wasting my time not knowing that whether everything on my channel works or not, and then find after waiting, a few days, a week or whatever, that I get a rejection message back from Roku, and it's over something, silly, that if I just check my channel with a device, I would have picked up and I would have been able to, easily fix. So you really have to make your own mind up on that. But, that's my view, for the sake of what, $40 typically. And sometimes if it's on offer or something, you might get it for $10 less. Or like in the UK, I think I paid 39, or say £40, $39.99. That was for a 4K version. Okay, that's pounds. So that's $52 roughly. But, it's just part of being able to, do business, really. Okay, so now I think let's actually get in more in the meat of this webinar presentation. So I can see there's quite a few that already either have channels approved. I mean, there's certainly someone, I won't call out names of that because I don't particularly want to embarrass anyone, either because they've got lots or they don't seem to have any. But, up to 5 approved channels, quite a few, with sort of ones and so on, and a few even that have got Fire TV ones approved. So that's great. But so really what this webinar is about is to actually have almost like a hand-holding exercise, for want of a better description, so that you can all build at least one channel. And I think you could actually build more, but except it's going to depend in part on the time that you have, available to do this. But that's, again, in a way, is one of the advantages of splitting this up into multiple sessions. And it isn't really a sort of race to see how fast we can get to the end. But I just want you, and I know quite a bit of this is probably covered in the training for those that have watched the videos, but I want to cover things, like how you do your research, because that is really critical, or really is key, because one, you want to produce a channel or build a channel that is viable. You might be building your channel a bit for fun, but really you want one that is going to be a success. So if there is no demand for the channel that you're creating, then maybe you should look at creating a channel for something else and not what you first thought of. And the other aspect to think about in this research is, if you're going to monetize the channel, you want to try and build it for something where there is going to be an advertiser interest, if you like. And a couple of times I've given examples in the group where, yeah, you may get lots and lots and lots of views, hours and hours of views of your channel. But if it's about, calming music for dogs, and yes, there are channels like that, and not just one or two. If you don't believe me, just go and search and you'll see exactly what I mean. And, that's not going to be one that is going to be good for advertising. And also the other aspect is it could cost you, particularly if you don't optimize the videos, and that we won't cover today, the optimizing the videos, but could end up costing you an awful lot in bandwidth. I mean, again, no names, great channel that someone's got in terms of in the first 3 weeks, 30,000, yes, 30,000, not viewing minutes, viewing hours. But the trouble is, the niche is wrong, because there is no, or at least thus far, there's been no interest from any advertisers that Barron's Media, work with. So, and the other aspect, say, is the bandwidth, because that particular lady got a email from Vimeo saying, oh, you know, we're great to see you're getting all these views on Vimeo, but the thing is you're using about 2 terabytes of bandwidth a day, and normally with Roku, you know, with what they describe as external direct links, you know, they're not through the Vimeo player, we only allow 1 terabit a month. And so they gave her a custom quote. Well, in fact, she's now using 4x of what that custom quote is in terms of bandwidth. She's used, well, on the 5th of April will be up to 1 month on my service that I'm now providing her for her videos. And as of, I think, last night, the bandwidth for her videos and a couple of other clients was at like 97 terabytes. So that's 97,000 gigabytes. So that would be 97 times what you know, Vimeo would normally allow, you know, in a month. And so her quote for 25 terabits was $15,000 a year. So that's where optimizing the videos come in, so that you can make them much smaller. Because the other thing is, if you have the data rate too high, they're not going to play on a lot of people's TVs anyway. But that's something else to come on to. But so again, see, these are the sort of things that are mentioned, you know, in detail in the training. So that's again why it's so important to watch the training. I cannot, you know, tell you that enough times, really. You know, you need to do that, because otherwise, you know, it's going to slow you down. You're going to waste your time, and that, you know, sort of thing. So again, I'm seeing 1 or 2 people are talking about access. So you know what to do. Find me in the Facebook group and, you know, send me a friend request and PM, and then we'll sort it out. Right, is it okay to have videos between 10 and 15 minutes? Yeah, absolutely fine. The biggest thing is, you know, keep your audience engaged. So that may depend on the niche that your videos relate to. We'll come on, I think, in a while to suggest a number of videos to start a channel. I tend to start with 6, but that's just for approval. I always have a load more. And the example I gave, I think I probably forgot to say, for the channel that I built just a couple of days before the launch started, in the end, he turned around and said, well, actually, I don't want 50, I want 100. And so we just got all those, you know, videos uploaded. So you can appreciate, I'm sure, anyone going to that channel is going to go, wow, there's an awful lot of stuff here. Oh, let's have a look for something. Oh, yeah, I'll watch this one now. But yeah, I'm going to come back here, you know, every day for the next few days, because there's at least 5 more that I want to watch. That's the sort of thing you want. All right, Stephen Brockles, 3-channel plan. Does it allow 3 Roku and 3 Fire in total? Yes, but you couldn't have 3 Rokus on, you know, if you like, for 3 channels, and then another 3 channels on Fire TV for something totally different. So in other words, when it creates a channel, it creates it for both. So though that just counts as 1 channel, whether you publish it for Roku or Fire TV. It's still one channel, but you can't sort of say, but I want 3, for these 3 topics I'm going to do on Roku, and I want another 3 on Fire TV for something totally different. No, that wouldn't work. Difficult to say how long for the first channel to be published. I mean, one thing I will say on that is Roku, certainly, they only publish Monday to Thursday. So if they approve your channel, say on probably even at 10 o'clock in the morning on a Thursday, chances are, because there's often a day or 2 delay anyway before they publish, it's probably not going to be published till Monday. And no, you cannot, Connie, use the Roku device or a Fire TV device, even if your computer has an HDMI connector. And the reason for that is it is an output connector, i.e. it's so that you can take the signal from your laptop and play it on an HDMI monitor. So it's going the wrong way, if you like, the signal, rather than, I mean, the only thing you can do, but generally I would probably just get a TV, but I did do this last week just as a matter of interest. I ordered a Asus monitor, 21.5 inch, full HD, which has an HDMI connector, so that is an input, which is what you want. And I just plugged my Roku stick in there, installed it, and it works absolutely fine. You obviously have to connect with the Wi-Fi, but that's okay. Your Roku device has that. And then you can just watch everything on there just fine. Okay, I think we better plow on because otherwise I'm going to run out of time. So the first thing I think I want to talk about, well, in fact, let's just look at these videos a minute. So essentially what I'm saying to you with the videos, these tutorial videos really that everyone gets access to that has TVBOSS Fire, is pretty well go through all of these videos. I mean, clearly, if
welcome to TVBOSS Fire.
Just get that one to stop. Right, so clearly, if you're not doing something, say you're just doing it with Roku or you're just doing it with Amazon Fire TV, well, then you don't necessarily need to watch the other, for the other device. But see, this goes all the way through. Hang on, it's never easy to get this to scroll down. Hang on, I will be able to now. Okay, so see, I'll start off with some sort of everything you need, really. So that talks about, in general terms, the devices and so on, an overview of the software, and then we get on to research, and then we start talking about the devices. Yeah, so you want to sort of at least skim over this, unless like you've already got a device or you've already set up an account and so on, then maybe you don't, unless you've got things in your mind. I mean, a lot of people don't have, for instance, an Amazon creator account. So again, this video, explains exactly how you do that. And so you would want that before you moved on to, really like logging into the account. Well, you would have logged in because you want to watch the videos anyway. But actually doing things inside here, you you're going to need to know how to get your video URL, because otherwise, when you go into this next video, which really is about using and creating your channel, you'll be lost. This one about importing, that only really applies to people that had the previous version. So now they have an opportunity, if they want to put it onto the SaaS platform, rather than having to host it like you used to have to, they now have an option to do that. So and then here inside Roku, see, this is what I mean about all the countries here. And then it's, like adding your feed and doing your branding and, choosing the best layout, associating the tags that you added sort of earlier on, that's in the one about creating the channel, and sort of connecting those two up so that you can have categories shown inside of your channel. Then the channel store, how that works, the monetization, the fact you need to fill in the support and publishing information, and then we go on to Amazon, creating your app there and previewing it and so on. So you can hopefully appreciate that does go through it in a systematic way, which I've found is definitely the best way to do it, so that when you need a bit of information, you've already done the process. You don't want to have to go off somewhere else because you don't have a link, or you don't have an image or something like that. So let's now really go back to nearer the top where it talks about the research. Okay, detailed look at research and finding content. This video is maybe a little bit too long, but it was done for a specific affiliate that wanted something much more detailed than what we already had. So I then incorporated it into these tutorials as well. So let's just look at a few places of where you search to see whether your channel is likely to be viable. So here's one of my favorites, and that's Udemy. I mean, of course, this is going to depend on the channel that you're creating. But see, a lot of these channels that people now create are going to be almost what I call a, how to or learn. So if you think, learn to play guitar, learn to play piano, learn to play the flute, learn to play drums, all of those type of things, fitness and Pilates and goodness knows what else. So let me just do a quick search on something like fitness, and you'll then, I think, get to understand exactly. So firstly, look at the number of results. Don't look at that just in isolation, but do look at it, because if you do a search on something and there's like 5 results, unless you find that there's lots and lots of students, then maybe this isn't going to be a good topic, because you definitely want something where there are lots and lots of students that have enrolled, because that's a pretty good indication that there is at least demand for your channel that you're considering. I then go in a little bit further. I see this has got a lot of lectures. It says it's a bestseller. So I will typically open that and look what I see. 11,516 students enrolled. So, let me ask you this question. And okay, I know this is about an internationally accredited diploma certificate in fitness, but is there demand for this course, or which could be a channel in your case? And I would say, you bet there is. Absolutely there is. So let's just go back, and we'll probably look at another one of these fitness things. Okay, this one's got 57 lectures. Okay, bit lower, hasn't been updated for 7 months roughly, but still 1,500 students and a 4.5 star rating and 341 rating. So again, that's not bad. Complete this trainer certification. Okay. Right, so another place, right, there's really two things with YouTube. Firstly is to search demand. So there you're not bothered whether it's Creative Commons. I mean, hopefully most, if not all of you, know what I'm talking about when I say Creative Commons. If not, just, watch some of the videos, and particularly one that I pointed out about research and finding the content. So I'm not worried at this stage whether this content is Creative Commons. All I'm really interested in is, is there demand for videos and training on fitness? This one I wouldn't bother about because that's an ad anyway. But just look at this. This video is only 6 hours old. It's already got 46,000 views. Does that indicate, that there, is a demand? I would say so. You'd probably want to look inside of this, but you can see 155,000 subscribers to this certified personal trainer channel. So again, demand, 7.2 million views. Okay, that's over 2 years. Oh, and sorry, this one here is 367,000 views in 3 months. So 90 days roughly. So that's about 4,000 views a day. Would you like 4,000 subscribers on your channel? Installations? Heck yeah, if they're, viewing the content as well, and you've got ads on there, most definitely. Right, so I'll move on, I think, to a couple of other places as well. Oh yeah, right. So this is internetarchive.org, and there's a couple of things that I tend to focus on in here. So we're getting, hang on, that wasn't really what I wanted. I think I need to put internet in the front of that. No. Now, not everything on here is public domain or Creative Commons, so you do need to check that. That definitely wasn't what I wanted. Well, maybe, but not at this point. All right, let's try again. Right, okay. Right, let me just search here. Right, I'll just use this as an example, I think. Yeah, okay. Now, this is one that I've really just in the process of finishing off, which will have 117 videos on it. But let me just qualify that a bit. This content was originally from the BBC, which is a television and radio company in the United Kingdom. But if I go into here, and you can see, look, here's many of the audio tracks these are, okay? They're all around sort of 26, 27 minutes. A few go a little bit over, like look, 41, 44, that sort of thing, okay? So what I've done with this, because this is just audio, which you still could just about use on Roku, but really they want video. But see, all I did, in fact, if I just go back in here, I can quickly show you some of it. If I go in my channels, and this has only got 5 of the videos, but I've got all the other ones done. And so what I've done, I'll just show you. So this is the first 4 parts. So is the radio broadcast that explains how this Dad's Army story came to be. And it was both a radio series, say with about 117 episodes over an 8-year period, and also a TV show. So see, what I did is all I've done is I've added a still image and added that to the audio track to make a video. So it's pretty simple, but it does look absolutely superb on the TV on Roku. And yes, okay, there's 30-minute recording, and that's what they listen to. But say this is an extremely popular radio and TV show, and you can see I've got the other a total of 5 of the tracks, but there are a lot more, and I created all those in that way. And so that's a perfectly good example. And what I didn't, I think, show you actually in here, because I didn't scroll down far enough. Public domain. So there is no issue whatsoever with me using this content. I don't need, permission. I might want to give attribution, but I think even that isn't absolutely essential with this. But, it wouldn't be a bad idea to do that anyway. So that's just, one example. And there's loads more here. And let me just see if I can find this particular archive that I'm looking for. Let me see. In fact, I might just do it like this. Perlinger. So let's try that. Something in here called Perlinger Archives. All right. Okay, so there seems to be a few in here. Let's see if I can find the one I want. I don't want to take too much time. And oh, by the way, this symbol here tells you like whether it's like a video and audio, that type of thing, short film, that sort of thing. So I don't know. Let's just see. I might just dive into something here and see what we get. All right, so that's not too obvious whether it's public domain or Creative Commons. So, you know, you've got to sort of dive into that maybe a bit more, but say there's just, I think if I go, oh yeah, look, here we go, this is what I wanted. Right, so Palinga archives. Now, look how much there is in here. And okay, not all of this is video, but most of it is. It's only saying there's 6 of the collections, and 6,935 are video. And, you know, there's lots of stuff in here that, you know, you could use. Because I think almost anything I choose, I'll just pick I think a couple at random and see what we end up with. Yeah, see, look, okay, it's 1947, but I wouldn't let that in itself, you know, trouble you, because you'd be surprised, or maybe you wouldn't, in how popular still this sort of content is. And even though it's often black and white, and the screen size and quality obviously isn't as good as the newest stuff, then you know, there's just loads and loads of stuff. And look at the views, you know, 2 million views. And okay, that may go back. I think this was formed maybe about 30 years ago, this particular Palinga archive. But you can still see there's lots of demand. Okay, now let's also, though, let's shift onto Vimeo. And then I'm going to show you on YouTube as well, though I tend personally not to favor Creative Commons on YouTube particularly, but let me do fitness again as my search. So you do that to begin with, and you need to get some results up essentially. Now at the moment, this is not Creative Commons, or it'll be mixed in with it, but it isn't just Creative Commons. So most of this would be of little or no use. I mean, let's look, 186,000 results in fitness. But what I need to do is go more filters, and then I'm going to come down here, and the one you want to switch on onto this license section is CC BY, which essentially means it's Creative Commons and that it can be used commercially. That's the key thing. Now, see, that's dropped down a lot now, but there's still 3,692 items on here. You know, and then what I normally do as well is I change this from relevance to popularity, so that I can see the views, the plays, if you like, yeah? Because that's going to give me an idea of whether, you know, this is going to be useful. And of course, what I'm looking at to a degree as well, maybe, is who is the publisher, if you like, or creator of this. Because you wouldn't necessarily just want a sort of mismatch of you know, videos. Now let's go over to YouTube. So I've done my fitness earlier, but that was just anything and everything. So now I'm going to do the filter. So I'm going to do the view count, and then I'm going to have to go back in, and I'm going to do Creative Commons. So here you can see, you know, okay, a year-old video, 15 million views. But I think you need to be very, very careful indeed. My suggestion, and it's already worked for one of the new members, is he did this sort of search, and on my suggestion, he then actually contacted this, well, it wasn't this particular person, but for the content that he identified, and said, oh, you know, I'd like to make a TV channel for you, you know, get you more exposure and all that sort of thing. And the person has turned around and said, yeah, okay, please, thank you very much. And he said, right, I need you to sign this video release form. And of course, see, the other aspect with YouTube is officially, if you follow their TOS, terms of service, you cannot download the videos. So at least if you're going directly to the contact, you have a chance that either they can download them as the owner of the video, or a lot of them, if they're well organized, are going to actually have the videos available. Now, I am sort of ignoring the questions for a moment, but I will obviously look back at them, you know, in a little while. So just bear with me. Yeah, so my approach is, you know, contact the channel owner. I know some probably won't respond. Some may say no, but then you can maybe go back and say, what, you really don't want to get that extra exposure? You know, that sort of thing. And, you know, hopefully you will find people. But say, personally, I'm not totally convinced that YouTube is, you know, the best choice, really. You know, for that reason, because I think a lot of videos on YouTube get marked as Creative Commons, and in reality, they're not. So, you know, just bear that in mind. There are some other sites I think I mentioned in that video, but I think that's enough probably to be going on. So I think what I'm going to do, I'm going to come back and start looking at the questions again as well. So please just bear with me. Right, so someone's asking, if you purchase Vimeo Pro for the year, do they prorate? If you cancel early, do you, I presume you're going to be saying, do you get your money back or some of your money back? No, is a simple answer. If you look in the terms, you'll see that. There aren't scripts or swipe files to approach new clients. And I think primarily that's because the version that was sold during the launch, other than the unlimited channels version, which allows you, if you like, to make one commercial sale. And some of that, I think, is going to be, you know, clarified, because they're looking into some of that, because there's a bit of ambiguity there, possibly as to what constitutes commercial use. So you'll just have to leave that whilst that's considered, and see, you know, when they give more precise or more detailed explanation of what is or is not allowed in the license, have to, you know, judge it from there. Can the channels be loaded to Raspberry Pi 3? I don't think so, because it's on, you know, you're having to use a Roku device. So we can only sell one account. Can we partner with others? So can we partner with others? And if so, what's the best way to do this? Well, I think I've sort of answered that. You'll have to wait and see, I think, what they decide on exactly what the terms of the license are going to be. So if you think about it, we don't want to just give everyone, as nice as it might be, an agency license for as many channels as they want. Those are, a high valued, if you like, commodity, really. And it wouldn't be fair to those, who even bought the previous version, where you have to host the software yourself, you have to host your own images, but they still may have paid up to $997 for a lifetime license for agency and $1,497 for like a white label or one that they can rebrand. So, you have to wait and see what happens. I think it was quite generous to even allow you to sell one, because when the agency version of the license comes out, probably towards the end of April, then that could easily pay for several years of access to that license. Price has not been decided yet, but if you think about it, it's going to be substantially more than $997, simply for the reason, if you like, of the hosting of the software and rendering what could be thousands or tens of thousands of images, certainly for some people, every day. There is a cost associated with that. So, just sort of bear with it with that. And I think almost certainly from what Craig has told me, that's going to be an annual fee. The only good thing is, in a way, particularly those that already have a version of TVBOSS, is you will get a 25% discount if you want to buy the agency license when that comes out. Again, there's only going to be a limited number. There's something like 2,000 people purchased the TVBOSS licenses, channel licenses, whether it be 1, 3, or unlimited during the launch. I think at most there'll be 100 licenses for agency. So you won't probably be able to dawdle and still get a license. And by the way, and I have no inside information on this, but here's my view. And I base this partly on some other programs that I'm either been involved in the past or are still involved in, where they are selling their agency licenses with maybe a 20 account limit, for example, for $5,000. Now, to me, selling a TV channel to a business is a lot easier than, for example, selling a membership site to a business. It's much easier to show, the potential return on investment that they can get from that. So, those are sort of things. So I personally reckon that by the end of this year, particularly if they don't limit the number of channels that you can have as an agency holder on your license, those that have not already locked in at a lower rate will probably be paying $10,000 a year for that license. It won't be $10,000 when it comes out, or at least I hope it isn't, at the end of this month, but it's going to rise through the year, particularly as they add more things. You probably saw that I think Craig sent out an email earlier of a bit of a taster almost, sort of, I suppose, getting people interested and excited still about the possibilities or potential of Apple TV and Chromecast. And I know that's something they are, really looking into, the same as they've already committed to you getting the streaming option for no further cost in your version of TVBOSS Fire. So, there's exciting times ahead, really. So you can see why that, could go up, or almost certainly will go up in cost as the year progresses. Because at least now, with some of the revenue they've obviously generated during the launch, though there were affiliates to pay and lots of other expenses, there is funds there to obviously do this development. So again, that's why it's really important in general, and I know they had the exceptions for the 1 and the 3 channel, that you're paying a recurring monthly or annual amount, because you just would not be able to develop a platform like this at the speed perhaps that you want to, unless you have, a constant flow of funds coming in. And that's those extra features and everything going to make it much easier for you to sell. And some people I know, $10,000, who would ever pay that? Well, there are people who certainly have. You only need to look through the group. I know there was one recently. Okay, I've not, seen her bank account or any other things in relation to the payments, but, she was quite clear in saying that, yes, she went to Funnel Hacking Live, which is a big event that Russell Brunson, who owns ClickFunnels, runs every year, and that she got 30 clients paying her $10,000 a time, and depending on the maintenance that she's giving, then is charging them anything up to $500 each per month. So that's an exception, I agree. Not everyone's going to do that. Some people may unfortunately end up not doing anything, but a lot of that is about taking action, really. So I think that really, because I'm looking at the time, brings me on almost to the homework side of things. So what I want people to do, I'd like to get a really strong commitment pretty well from everyone on this call, particularly if they haven't already built at least one channel, to get a commitment that that's what they're going to do. And I want, so in other words, I'd like, I suppose, everyone that's committed to doing this to put a Y in the box, so that I know, that I have at least got some, real commitment here from people, because it's the action that counts. You can sit around doing nothing and you'll make no progress at all. It's the imperfect action, massive imperfect action, as I say, that is the important thing. I've seen it all too often where, people are, say, in a group for a membership site, and, they say, oh, yeah, I'm getting there with my course. And I go, oh, how long have you, been working on it? Thinking they're going to turn around and say, oh, only a week or a couple of weeks. And they go, 6 months. No. That is not, the way to do it. The way to do it, and I've done this twice for one particular individual in this particular membership site Facebook group. And so he contacted me or he made a post in the group, can someone help me, build and launch my membership site? I responded. Within 24 hours, his site was live and making sales. So that's now probably about 18 months ago in total, but he certainly got to $10,000 in sales within the first week. And the last time I checked, which I think was probably in January, he was over $40,000 in sales. He contacted me, I think it was right around Christmas time, and I did virtually the same thing. Different course, totally different course, in literally a matter of hours, because he obviously already had his videos and that done. I had to upload them and create his membership site and so on. And again, within hours, course live, making sales, making money. And okay, creating a TV channel is a little bit different because you're not going to press the button, have it live and immediately see, tens of thousands of dollars or whatever coming in. But if you don't do anything, you won't get the subscribers, you won't get the viewing, and you're not going to get ad revenue. I mean, obviously some of it's a bit of a chicken and egg, if you don't have a good number of reviews or a good number of sort of viewing hours, then companies like Roku aren't going to look at it at all. Barron's Media is a little more probably flexible, but again, I know they've reviewed their sort of requirements based on the feedback of their advertisers. So, you've got to sort of get the things out there. And I know someone was asking earlier about how many videos you need. I mean, in part, that's going to depend on the duration of the videos. Generally, you don't want videos that are certainly less than 7 minutes because those will never, ever have ads on them because that's a rule from Roku. So the key thing to me, again, it's in the videos, tutorial videos, but make a note of it if you want, is you want around about 6 videos spread over a few categories, and some videos can be in more than one category, to get your channel started and get it approved. But don't just have 6 videos and stop and think, well, I'll wait until it's approved and then I'll think about having some more content, creating more content, finding more content, however you're doing it. No. Don't do that, or you'll get caught out like I could have done sort of almost 2 weeks ago, I think it was, when the channel was approved and live, much to my surprise, within 6 hours. So if I hadn't been prepared and said to this particular client, right, okay, so, how many videos are you going to start with? And he said 40, and I said, right, well, make sure you got those uploaded. Yeah, we're just in the process of doing that now. So in the next couple of hours, those will be done. Well, I'm glad they were, because I was then able to go, right, get those videos up there now, quick. So that as soon as people start coming into that channel, they're going, oh yeah, there's quite a lot of stuff here. It's not just, I went into that other new channel and there was only, like half a dozen or 10 videos there. Well, I'll soon go through all that, and then they perhaps never come back again. So, that's the sort of, so to answer that question, so right, start with 6, have more ready. I'd probably say roundabout, if at all possible, about another 20 more. And once the channel gets approved, don't wait till you know it's actually published, just when that you get the email saying, yeah, it'll probably be a few days before your channel is live, but it's been approved, and it'll be shown shortly, type of thing. So that's the point, to add 20 videos. And then at least 2 to 3 times a week for the first 30 days, add 1 to 3 videos, those 2 to 3 times a week, just to make sure you've always got plenty of content. And when people come back, they go, oh, look, yeah, there's some more stuff here. Let's have a look at that. Because here's the thing, and certainly one of the members would very much tell you this, because, he joined, I think it was probably about October, November time on the old version. Now, he actually had, in the first 9 days, 10,000 people subscribed to his channel. His channel now, and okay, that was January, his channel went live, because in fact, between, I think it was around about mid-December and the 2nd of January, Roku had really what they call a blackout. What I mean by that is they did not review or publish any channels. So there was a bit of a backlog when they started back again on the 2nd of January. But when this channel got published, I think probably around about the 10th of January, I think it might have been, within 10 days, it had 10,000 subscribers. It had 70,000 video views. I can't remember off the top of my head the number of viewing hours, but I think it had something like 3,000 viewing hours. So you can see that really, to me, certainly that early on, is a successful channel and shows what you can do. Because see, when your channel is published, it goes on the page in Roku for just added, or sometimes they may use a slightly different phrase. It might be latest channels or something. It varies, I think, a little bit from country to country. So, it may not last on there very long now, because there's so many channels being published. Probably, for instance, 6 months ago, it might have stayed on that page for 3 weeks, perhaps. Now, the channel that I published a couple of days before the launch, so in other words, about 2 weeks ago, that I noticed only lasted on that page for a week. And then obviously it was no longer in the latest batch of channels. Now, that used to be 100 channels on that page. Recently, they've actually upped it to 120. But, there's so many published now, especially I think with the likes of, the TVBOSS Fire launch, there may well have been 100 channels submitted for approval since the launch started sort of 11 days ago. So you can see, and I can see quite a few have got approved as well. So you can see that 120 channels being the latest or the last added, it will soon go. So I suppose I'm going to make it clear as to really what I want you to do for your homework. So I want you to go away to research, like I've shown you, and as like is contained in the videos, of what you are going to do your channel on. You know, what is it going to be? You know, is it going to, and we've just talked about a lot about public domain and Creative Commons, but equally it could be something that you are passionate about or have some, you know, if you like, level of expertise in. I noticed in the group there was someone, for instance, talking about their, you know, radio station, and that TV was going to be their next thing. So this had come along, you know, right at the right time for them, really. So, you know, that is the thing. You know, you want to, you know, find something, whether it be along the lines of Creative Commons and public domain and so on, but equally, you know, if you're something that you've got a real passion about, but obviously do search, because I think before we conclude, because I'm almost down to the wire to my next call. So if I go on Roku, because you can and should search on here. I tend to search on my device as well, but for instance, if you don't have a device, then you should still at least, okay, let's log into my own account if I can. You should search on here. Let me see if it might even let me search in the channel store without being logged in. Let's see. Right, should be able to log into my own one now. Yeah. Because this is, I think, where the searching, even on Roku, becomes important, as you'll see, because what I'm going to do is get onto this channel store and see, look, just added. You can have a look in here as well. Now, just watch this and then decide whether you think maybe this is saturated. And I know fitness is a really wide term, and yes, you might be able to sort of drill down into a sub-niche, but look how much there is on here on fitness. So unless you're able to niche down, you know, I don't know, mum into fitness and all sorts of other things, yeah, and this still hasn't stopped loading, because when I get down the bottom, it'll just go load more. It will come to the end eventually. In fact, it looks like it might have done there. But you see what I mean? So, yeah, you've done some research and you've thought, yeah, look, YouTube, yeah, Udemy, yeah, lots and lots of, students, lots of views. But then, don't forget your Roku. I'm not saying you wouldn't do it on fitness, but you'd be looking, well, okay, these ones are too general, perhaps. I need to do something a bit more sort of unique, or that will have my stamp on it. Because otherwise, this may not, be a good choice. And of course, I think as well, you can get a bit of inspiration sometimes just by going into some of these categories. Like they just added. So this is the last 120 channels. So you can see the sort of stuff that people are adding, and may think, oh yeah, well, okay, I don't want to do that exactly. Yes, but I was thinking about such and such. Yes, I could probably do that instead. Let's see, you can see, so this is the last Now, I know this one, for instance, I can't remember the guy's name, but this was just published a few days ago by someone in the group because, you know, he did a little, I think, a Facebook Live or something to say how excited he was to finally have his own, you know, TV channel. So, you know, do search in here and do search on Roku with your device. The advantage with when you're doing it with a device, when you do the search, and you can put in a letter at a time. So I can't show you exactly, but I can, all right. So what you would do is you would go into this streaming channels. So you just move down the menu, and then it lets you add, you know, you go scroll to the right, and then you have a box where you type, and then you have all the letters. So you select with that, or you use your remote on your mobile, then you can use the keyboard and, you know, put in those search terms, and it searches one letter at a time. So what I mean by that is if you were searching on fitness, you'd put F, and you'd see, oh, there's, you know, thousands, probably F. That will cut it down. You put T, and so that list will get shorter and shorter. But that may help you with a bit of inspiration when you look at some of the titles and even look at some of the channels. So, like I say, go away. Probably will have another call later in the week, but I have to see, you know, about fitting that in. But at the very worst, it'll be next Monday before we have another call. So that should give you, you know, enough time, because Thursday, I think, is probably the earliest I would have the next call. So that should give you at least a few days to go away, do some research, and come up with at least one channel. I know to do more than that, for some people, will be a bit of a tall order, so that's fine. One will be fine. It's just if you come back, you know, and you haven't done any, then I know things can happen, but I'll be a little bit sort of disappointed, to be honest. And I'm sure you can appreciate that, because you have to take action. Don't just go running round in circles, you know, thinking, oh, no, I'll just leave it or whatever, because you'll make no progress. At least if you're forcing yourself to say, yeah, okay, I'm going to do as Jonathan said, I'm going to do my research, and yes, by Thursday or whatever, I can have decided on what my channel is. And you obviously want to decide on, you know, where you're going to source the content. So I know I haven't maybe gone through as deep as I would have liked in this call, but you have got all of those videos, and that one that I did on the content side, you know, research and, you know, finding content, that's the 30-minute video. So, you know, if you can't find, you know, stuff in there, I mean, you can try on Facebook, you can try on Google. That's probably okay to maybe find more sources for, like, public domain and Creative Commons. And you have got, of course, the Creative Commons site as well, which is creativecommons.org. So this will explain a lot more about Creative Commons, you know, what it is and so on, and you can search the stuff as well. Yeah, so this shows you. I mean, not all of this stuff is video, so it's probably not a great, you know, interest in itself, but it gives you an idea of some of the things you can maybe find. I mean, SoundCloud could be one, because like I showed you with that Dad's Army channel, you know, which is all audio tracks where I've added, you know, a video. So, you know, I mean, in fact, let me maybe just quickly show you this. And just log in, and I'll show you what I mean. So I've done this for two two different radio shows. There's this one called Father Knows Best, which is an American one. And in fact, if I go, I think in here, you'll know that I've not been telling white lies. So you can see, and these all do have images. I think it just takes a while probably for them to load. But you can see, and look, here's all my dad's army ones. So see those, that's really just the title. You know, Turkey Dinner, Menace from the Deep. Some of these I think might be older ones. Oh no, they have got the title on. Sergeant Saves the Day, 10 seconds from now, the captain's car. Is there honey still for tea? So I say there's over 100 of those. Don't fence me in and so on. Now, so you can see there's just so much stuff here. And this didn't take a long time to, you know, create. It was just a case, yeah, got the audio file, create this image, and now make a video from it. And just make sure that that image applies for the 29 minutes and 39 seconds or whatever. You know, if I wanted to, I could have had different images, but I just wanted to keep it simple. So, you know, you could probably find other stuff on SoundCloud that is Creative Commons that you could use and, you know, easily build a channel with 50 items plus on it. I think this one is, I think it's got 78, something like that. And these have all now been uploaded as well. So that's all live. That was done, I think, by the 20th. These were all done and uploaded. So I do sincerely hope that you found this really useful. And now you've got your something to get your teeth into, really. Let me just look at this question here. How would a unique domain like the building solid muscles? It's not essential, but a good point, actually. I'm glad you've raised this. I know I'm a bit over on time of what I wanted. See, I think where some of you are not thinking outside the box is don't just think of Roku or Fire TV. You should be thinking of this more as strategic marketing, I would call it. So, for instance, those of you who have Vimeo Pro, with a Vimeo Pro account, that actually allows you to sell videos or, you know, sets of videos on Vimeo, and you keep 90% of what it sells for. So that is something else you should be thinking about, because so that's where possibly a domain comes in. So you just have very, shall I call it, light branding, i.e., you know, maybe on an intro, on an outro, you know, buildingsolidmuscles.com or whatever your domain, you know, happens to be that's tied in with your channel. So on your website, what are you going to do? Of course, you're going to put, we're on Roku, we're on Amazon Fire TV. That's perfectly okay. And it goes the other way with, you know, the subtle branding, if you like, you know, not a blatant spammy, you know, effort, because people will go, not everyone, but people will go on your site. They will check you out. You know, they'll look on Vimeo, perhaps, if you have something on your site about that as well. And some people will buy your videos because if they see you are adding value, then okay, yes, they're probably not going to pay you $500, for videos, but they probably would pay you, $30, $37, $47, that type of thing for a set of videos on a particular topic. And see, I know one of my friends, for example, I think he's had his Roku channel for around about 6 months, probably. I think he probably got it round about last October when they did, a launch or a relaunch of the earlier version, which was just for Roku. He's just told some other people in a group, because some people were a bit skeptical, saying, well, why would anyone ever want a Roku channel? Total waste of time. And of course, he shut them up, but when he turned around and said, well, actually, for my Roku channel, I've signed up 3 coaching clients. Because, see, the thing is, having a TV channel, with a website and so on, if that's the type of thing you're into, that you're doing, it's going to depend on your channel, is definitely worthwhile, because it gives you authority and shows you as an expert. And of course, it tends to make you look really much bigger, doesn't it? Because you don't just look like someone who's a one person, company or whatever, which you might well be. Wow, this guy's important. Look, he must be good because he's got his own TV channel. So, sorry if I've harped on, too long, but if you didn't realize it before, I think you can see now how passionate I really am about this. And I do definitely know exactly what I'm talking about and how, I can really help you. No one can guarantee you, absolute success, because it's going to depend on, the effort and the action you take, clearly. But I can certainly steer you in the right way and prevent you making a lot of the mistakes that perhaps even I made when I started out 18 months ago. But now I won't make, because I know exactly, what I'm doing, how to do it, and all these sort of things, and you'll see that throughout the training. There's just so many things in there. You sort of think, I wouldn't have thought of that, but yeah, that's a really good point. So, thanks for joining me, and, we'll let you know a bit later in the week when the next one will be. If you've got questions, obviously you can ask them in the group. I won't promise that I will answer them all myself personally, but then equally there's other people who've been in this group for some time. They may answer them. And indeed, I've noticed there are a few people that have already been doing that, which I appreciate, because, I can't be there 24/7. I'm involved in, other ventures, and I have other clients that I coach and mentor and other platforms that I work in. So I can't be available 24/7. I'm in London, it's now 11 minutes past 11, so I won't be around too much longer tonight. Obviously, once the video recording is rendered, then I'll be able to add it in the boot camps and webinars section in the training. So if I just go back here, so here's the tutorials, and it's going to be in this bottom section here. And we will try, as someone suggested, so we do listen to what you say. It's just not always as easy as it would seem or we would like, but we'll try and start putting some dates on these so you actually know at least what order they were created. Doesn't mean you have to look at them in that order, but yes, I agree it would be better so that if I put this was done on the 1st of April, then at least you know you've got the right video. So let me just have one final look. I know there's probably a few questions I haven't answered. I apologize for that. You know, but it's just not possible. Right, hang on. Right, please repeat the name of the TV set. Well, okay, I didn't buy a TV set. I mean, I've already got 2 TVs, both with HDMI connectors, because pretty well all TVs that are 10 years or less old have HDMI connectors. What I did do was, because I saw 1 or 2 questions about it in the group, I thought, okay, I think if I buy a monitor, so for instance, let's say you have a desktop computer and you are using an HDMI monitor, preferably one that is full HD, and that runs with an HDMI connector, then what you could do is either plug your Roku or your Fire TV stick into that HDMI connector, or go to eBay and get like a splitter. And I did put a link in the group, and you get them on Amazon as well, and they're only probably like $10 to $12 typically to have, like, say 4 or 5 ports, and that way you can switch between. So that could give you an option if you don't have you know, a TV with HDMI, which I think is not that likely. That is an alternative where, yes, you can pay your sort of $40 or so for your Roku or Fire Stick and just plug it in the HDMI and install it. As long as you've got Wi-Fi, you know, that the Roku device can connect to, then it works absolutely fine. So I think I will bid you farewell and say if there are any questions, ask. But yes, anyone who can help me out by answering any of those questions, you know, that would be absolutely great. Anyone that's not on the live call, well, fine, that doesn't stop you from following what I've shown here. And no, Laura, you don't necessarily have to have a website or to host a website. But I was just giving you an example of, you know, how or when you might find it useful. But it does depend on your channel. But because, see, it's like when your channel goes live, don't just rely on Roku promoting it on that just added page that I showed you. You know, think about how you can promote it. And I'm not saying, you know, go out and spend lots and lots of money on it, you know, particularly if you don't have funds available. But, you know, do consider other ways that you can promote it. You know, could you do a Facebook, well, it could be a Facebook Live, but could you do a Facebook Live, or could you do a YouTube Live about your new Roku or Fire TV channel? Most certainly you could. And you might well get a number of, you know, subscribers by doing that. Could you, in the appropriate Facebook groups or appropriate Facebook pages that, you know, perhaps are related to Roku or Amazon Fire TV, you know, depending on the rules that they have, could you make a post or could you make a video in there? Well, possibly. You could certainly ask. The worst that can happen is the person will turn around and say, no, don't be so stupid. But on the other hand, they might think, oh yeah, this is a really good idea. I can get more engagement with my members if I encourage them to share their experiences with Roku and Fire TV. So, don't just think you're going to get a no straight off. Facebook ads is another possibility. And I'm not talking about spending, hundreds of dollars. Just spend like $10 a day or $5 a day even. It'll probably end up less if you do your targeting right. But if your channel is about, I don't know, learning guitar, well, then you can obviously look for people and groups and that are interested in, learning guitar. And, that's where you target your ads. And so you don't spend a lot of money. But so, don't just rely on Roku and sort of think, oh, well, that didn't go very well, particularly now because it's probably not going to stay on that page for very long. So let me see. All right, thank you. Does WeVideo have a URL for the stored video? Unfortunately, not an MP4. What it will do, which is what I've used, if you have, Vimeo account, it will actually, after the video is rendered, actually upload it, which obviously I actually love because it saves me the job and the time, doesn't it? And that's what how those were done. I gave that job to my VA to create all those videos you saw for the Father Knows Best and the Dad's Army. And because it's online and not on the computer, she could have about 7 or 10 all rendering at once, a minute or two between each as she built it. But I mean, that's something we can cover in a later thing, and you don't need to worry about it. But no, unfortunately, it doesn't. And I know I saw one or two people asking about other options. There are very, very few in reality than Vimeo Pro, which will probably work for 98% of the people. You get the odd one, like the lady I mentioned, who's used close to 100 terabytes since the 5th of March. And no, you can't use that. And in fact, I actually have my own solution that I developed by combining a couple of different services. But as I say, this isn't here to be a pitch, so I think we'll leave it, at that. But other ones are much more expensive because, like, if she was using that bandwidth on Amazon S3, that would have cost her over $1,000. So the fact that Vimeo clearly wanted to move off, and she has now moved off of Vimeo Pro, they didn't actually say to her, oh, well, actually, you have used 100 terabytes from, like mid-February to the 5th of March. So, you're going to have to give us $2,000 because that's probably what it would have been, somewhere around that figure anyway, certainly more than 1,000. So at least they're good in that respect. Yes, they say you've got to go somewhere else or sign up for a custom plan. But, I have one or two little options up my sleeve, albeit I'm keeping them really low key anyway, because I just want to make sure they are working fine. So at the moment, I'm just really testing it out with 15 people. So I'm not really, looking for new clients at the moment anyway. Obviously, if someone's channel really jumps off the scale, then yeah, you can contact me. And I don't want to see you paying, thousands of dollars to someone else. So I would obviously try and help you. So thanks, and no doubt I'll see you all in the group. And then when we have our next call, which I think I say will probably be towards the end of the week, like Thursday or Friday, then we can move on to the next bit, which of course is going to be along the lines of, because I'm going to assume that you've got a device, or that you're happy to work in the dark without one, which I say I don't recommend, but at least then once you've decided on a channel and we can see that it's viable, we can move on to actually going into TVBOSS Fire, creating it, talking about the categories and thumbnail images and all those good things that we need. It certainly would be worthwhile if you check out any of the videos that relate to that, before the call, so that at least when I start talking about something, you'll know what I'm talking about and not be thinking, oh, I don't know what that's all about. But, that's just my suggestion. So thanks again for joining. And I hope this is a good start to something, really worthwhile in getting, at least 100 channels completed between the various members that have attended this or watched the replay. So thanks a lot, and bye for now. And as soon as the recording is available, it will be put in the group like I showed. Bye for now.